Chapter 7, The Era of Federal Social Services. What was the Great Society? Following the Great Depression and Roosevelt's response New Deal, the push for reform was put on the back burner during World War II. Most, if not all, of Roosevelt's attention was put on foreign affairs, leaving very little time for domestic policy. He died hoping that there would be post-war reform. But even after the war, during the 1950s and 1960s, very little policy reform occurred. Conservatives had the majority in both houses of Congress, cutting taxes during Truman's presidency. The Cold War was taking up most of his attentional resources, as well as military spending. Combined, these led to a lack of financial resources for anything additional at the time. When Eisenhower became president, his focus remained on the war. The conservative complacency ended with the election of Kennedy in 1960. The civil rights movement, begun by Martin Luther King Jr., forced Americans to see the needs of a particular group of people, and to propose policy remedies. While Kennedy was unable to make many of the strides for social policy he wanted, his successor, Johnson, did focus on many of those aspects. The Great Society refers to the domestic policies passed by President Johnson in the years of 1964 to 1965, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Medicare, Medicaid, Older Americans Act, Elementary and Secondary Education Act, the Office of Economic Opportunity, food stamps, and job training. Credit for the Great Society does not belong solely with one president, but with those social activists who fought for civil rights, women's rights, minority rights, the war on poverty, and many other key activist groups that put pressure on the president and legislators to keep going with reform.